Well, what's up, guys? Ben here bringing another video today. Breaking Point just released the results of their first coaches poll of the season. This is a poll where the coaches from a CDL team rank other CDL teams and they put out a power rankings. Let's react to it because based on what they tweet, there's a bunch of surprises. So I'm gonna live react and see what I think. All right, so the way they had this set up is they asked coaches from all teams to rank every other team 1 through 11, and they awarded points based on that, and then took the most points and then went 1 through 12. Let's dive in. Here's the point structure in case you're curious on how this works. Let's start with first and work our way down and get some reacts. All right, first off, we have Los Angeles Thieves. Not a real surprise from me. Looks like opposing coaches ranked them number 1 in 7 out of 11. So not universal number 1 picks, but I've heard the same that Thieves have been really good in practice. I think this game really suits their play style. I think they've obviously really developed a lot of basis in S&D, and I know they have a practice that mode a lot, but I'm not surprised that Thieves is first. They've been really disciplined. They've also been playing the game a lot. Next up, we have Atlanta FaZe. They got 0 first place votes apparently, but they got 6 second place votes and 2 times. So it looks like then 4 teams didn't put them either second or third. That actually makes me curious then, like, who were the other 4 votes for first that weren't for LA Thieves. I told you all, man, FaZe been playing good at practice. Not surprised that they're up here. I think though for FaZe, on the flip side of what I said about Thieves, like obviously teams have really been screaming mostly like hardpoint and control, obviously control issues now with private matches, and that's a whole conversation for another day. We haven't seen a lot of S&D prac out of teams, and for FaZe, bringing in Slasher is a big kind of add to improve that. We'll see how they do, but I'm not surprised that FaZe was in the top 2. They've been in any of these coaches polls, they've usually been in the top 1 or 2. Surprise number 3, I think for me, Toronto Ultra coming in third with 77 points. You know, Scrappys look good really early on in the season, at least in practice. Same with Standy. So I'm not surprised. I guess the teams have them the high. I'm really surprised that they have them over like a Minnesota or an OpTic. But yeah, I mean, for all the copium for the our Ultra fans are out there, like, you know, I don't think anyone's really sleeping on this team. It doesn't seem like coaches are as well. So surprised to see them that high as third. Minnesota came in 4th. It looks like they got 1 of the first place votes, 1 second place vote, and 2 third place votes. And I actually missed it on the last one. Toronto Ultra got the 2 other first place votes. So there's 1 more left, I think, then, right? Because there was 7, so we're still missing a few. But overall, I'm not surprised that Minnesota did finish 4th on this poll. I thought teams would feel, or, you know, my kind of preseason thoughts were that Minnesota was going to probably be a team that got ahead pretty early. They've got a lot of veteran presence. They understand what they need to do on a daily basis to get better, especially early on in the game. So I'm not surprised. Curious to see how this Minnesota team does in actual matches. But that's sort of Toronto, Minnesota dynamic, who's really going to kind of join FaZe and Thieves. Maybe that's sort of top 3 is really interesting. Obviously OpTic, and we'll get to that whenever we see them on the list. All right, number 5, Las Vegas Legion. Obviously they streamed a lot of their scrims. They were playing really well on hardpoint in those. Control, and they end up finishing 5th in this poll. I'm actually surprised. We haven't seen OpTic at all yet in this, which is kind of wild. 5th for Vegas. Good start to the season for them. Looks like they got a 2nd place vote, 3 4th place votes, and 3 5th place votes. So they kind of ended up netting in 5th place. Look, for Vegas, and I think I'll talk about this more in my preview video that's going to come out later in this week. For this team, they have looked like, with the strength of Temp and Clay, that they are going to be a really good hardpoint team in what is a really AR friendly meta right now. For Vegas, for me, it's really going to come down to control about whether or not they're a higher ceiling team than like top 6. But if anyone had Vegas finishing 5th in the first power rankings of the season on their bingo card, I give you props because I didn't see that coming. Oh, real surprise there. All right, next up we have Seattle Surge. 6 kind of puts them sort of in the middle of the league. I think this feels about right for the Seattle team. I'm looking for them to sort of take the next step up in consistency this year. So let's see if they can parlay that. It looks like the points are pretty close. Like Seattle has 73, Vegas has 75, Minnesota 77, Toronto 77, and then there's a big gulp to FaZe. So it looks like from third down, it's pretty tight in terms of points. But 6 not too bad. They're sort of in the mid pack. That's about where I'd play Seattle. Wow, OpTic Texas in 7th on the bottom end of this. I would have thought that OpTic Texas would be a team that's going to be more near the top. I wonder if maybe they haven't gotten as much practice as other teams. I'm really curious why coaches have them voted so low. There's not really much in this flavor text or really description here of the poll that was put out by Breaking Point, but I think really surprised to see OpTic Texas in 7th. I would expect them, though, by the time matches start, for them to be like a top 4 team. They have too much talent, not be there now with Ender back, and if they don't start strong, I think the fan base is going to be pretty really on their case early. So let's see what happens. A little bit of a drop to New York Subliners, who currently sit in 8th place. Really surprised Boston breached below them in 9th. We'll get to that, but New York at 8th seems about right for me. They seem like, again, another one of those mid-pack teams. I think that they might actually be a solid team. We actually get to an event against, to me, in like a 3 AR meta, kind of suits their team, because then Preston can kind of run 3rd AR, and they can kind of Hydra be the only sub player in the team and be a kind of go rogue player. So I think that might suit New York if it really kind of stays that way meta-wise. Again, this mid-pack's really tight. So New York at 8th, not a surprise. I would not expect them to be much, maybe a couple places higher if I were doing it. But obviously coaches have played this team, so they got a good feel for how they place. And this is pretty tight across the board. Boston in 9th is a real surprise. I would have thought they would have been in the top 6. They were looking good in the scrims that were streamed a few weeks ago. Looked good both in hardpoint and control. And I thought Nero and Reese Vivid were looking really good at that, as well as Zen also frying in those scrims. So I don't know what's changed last week or so. It is, again, kind of pretty tight in points from like 9th at 62 all the way to 3rd. You're looking at 77. So points wise, it's pretty tight based on how this criteria works. But I would, from my end, think that Boston's going to be more of a top 6 team than maybe say like a New York. But as it is with the CDL, sort of the middle of the pack teams are pretty tight. So we'll see what Boston can do. But I like the moves from Boston. Let's see if they can step it up this season. Florida in 10th, actually a little bit higher than I would have thought to start the season for them. They're a team that I think talent-wise, and we've talked about this a lot, don't necessarily match the other teams. And if you look at sort of the fall off in points, Boston had 62, Florida had 35. So now we're kind of getting the teams that people are consistently putting in spots like 10, 11, and 12. Florida being above, we haven't even got the LAG yet in London, is a little bit surprising. Again, maybe these teams are pretty close in points and we'll see, but I expect Florida to be really struggling and be like a bottom contender for a champ spot, but you never know. I think the last thought, sorry, on Florida is also like, and I think they talk about it too in the article here. I think if their path forward is really to be like the S&D squad, we'll see if they can grind out that strat. LAG all the way down in 11th. They're on 33 points with Florida on 35. So pretty close. That's a disappointing placement for this LAG staff, really. I think I've been really pessimistic about the team, and I've gotten some heat in my like stream for it in some of my YouTube comments, but I felt like LAG kind of maybe shouldn't have run back the trio and then added Alec for Slasher. I would have felt like if he were bringing Alec in, he would have swapped personnel. Right now, it seems like the coaches kind of feel similar, that this team is sort of in the lower end of the CDL. We'll see if this team pulls a trigger quick on a change, but from what I've seen in practice, it's been kind of a mixed result. Let's see if they can turn around, but like personnel-wise, the team is really inconsistent day to day. If they can get some practice banked and some experience, maybe that pushes against it. But in general, if you look at the body of work of all 4 players on the team, like they are generally fairly inconsistent players match to match. And London 12th, I don't think is really a surprise. They've been kind of mixed in scrims. And I think this team is very much a project. Not many points, 13 points. So really, I think then almost everyone had them in 12th except for one team, if that's how the points work. Yeah, I mean, I think this team's definitely a step away, probably a move or two away from being a real contender. So we'll see if maybe they can get punch a little bit higher, but I think by default, this team's got a little bit to work on or to get somewhere productive at the end of the season, maybe fight for a champ spot. Yeah, those are the rankings. I think the real surprises for me were Boston being so low at 9, OpTic being in 7th, and I guess Toronto being in 3rd. But if you looked at that mid-pack points, Toronto was sitting on 77, Minnesota was sitting on 77, so they're actually tied. That's actually a little bit misleading. They're kind of tied on points between 3rd and 4th. Vegas at 75, Vail at 73, OpTic at 72. So you see how close it was amongst those couple of teams. Let me know what you guys think. What would be your power rankings based on what you've seen, like maybe in scrims or what have you? I mean, it's kind of tough for people to give kind of their opinion on this, not seeing matches. So maybe be careful what you comment, and we can do this exercise again maybe after the first set of matches are off. Let me know what y'all think. As always, like if you enjoyed this content, subscribe for more. We're gonna have a lot of team preview videos gonna start coming out later this week, so be on the lookout for those. We're gonna be doing 2 a day, breaking down all 12 teams in the CDL, so we'll have a week's worth of content doing those videos for you. I'm super excited. I'll record if you're ready. They're bangers, so excited to roll them out. And as always, guys, we'll see you on the next video.